You do not like the way the mass media talks about, well, a lot of things if I had to guess, but specifically, if I had to bet on one specific thing, I would say that you don't like the way the mass media talks about mass shootings. I know you don't, because I read comments. I read the comments on all the news sites, I read the comments on other YouTubers and such. No one likes it. No one likes the way people talk about mass shootings, left, right, and center. It's a bipartisan issue that these mainstream news networks, they're manipulating the narrative for clicks and views, right? Oh, look, a plane crash with 105 people on it, including 2 children. Oh, well, I guess the other 103 people didn't matter then, right? Because they were adults. And guess what? The 2 children were also girls, which means their lives counted for more. Why do they do that? Obviously for drama. It's for drama. I mean, you can look at the gun violence archive right here. They have children listed and teens listed and officers listed, but I mean, where are all the other demographics? Why do they have those listed? And it's just a messy situation, and I think that it's really infected people beyond our borders significantly. Loads of people in the world, at least based on what I read on the internet, seem to have a superiority complex regarding America due to gun violence specifically. Like, they actually think that if they come to America, they're going to get shot. And of course, it is a possibility. I mean, yeah, you can argue it's a possibility pretty much anywhere, but it is significantly more likely in America than somewhere else. There's no point denying that. However, is it really as bad as people say? No, not really. So I'm going to talk about mass shootings here and how they're being inappropriately portrayed, especially in recent times. There's been a whole slew of them recently, and how it's really impacting the state of our country, like mentally, and weirdly by the right wing as well, for the sake of clicks and views. But it's only to the benefit of the left, I think, because the argument that, look, every now and then someone with a gun stops a mass shooting, a civilian with a gun stops a mass shooting, like, that's great. That happened pretty recently at the, was that fast food restaurant? I can't remember the name of it. That happened pretty recently. A guy with a pistol there was trying to fight back, but on the other hand, you have the people on the left who are trying to say, well, look, there's tens of thousands of mass shootings that happen every year. That's proof that the Constitution needs to be destroyed, ripped up, and done away with. That's what they're using as an argument, and frankly, their argument is superior. But it's only superior because the narrative of what a mass shooting is. So, according to the Gun Violence Archive, a mass shooting is 4 or more people who are injured by a gun in a single instance, which is insane. There doesn't even need to be any fatalities, right? And also, it doesn't need to be a mass shooting. A bunch of drunks at a bar, that's a mass shooting, air quote, air quote. A gang shooting? Well, if there's 4 more people who get shot, that's a, air quote, mass shooting. I mean, what happens if a single bullet goes through 3 people and hits a 4th person? Well, 4 people were shot by a gun, right? I mean, yeah, 1 bullet hit all 4 of them, but isn't that still a mass shooting by the weird definition that we have? And I think this is erroneous. So if you look at the map presented here by thetrace.org, you can see that these are all the shootings in America over the course of January 1st, 2014 and June 3rd, 2026. So if you look at that, it looks pretty bad. Of course, you can definitely see that in the big cities, it's more common. In certain areas where certain demographics are more likely to be, it's more common. If you toggle to simply mass shootings, though, this is just mass shootings, getting rid of all the other fluff, then it's not really quite as bad as it might seem. And of course, it is still centered around these same sort of places. And you could just pick any of these spots: DC, Houston, Atlanta. We'll go Atlanta. Just click some random spot in Atlanta, and then you read more. It's 4 shootings there in Mount Zion Road, Atlanta. And okay, this isn't it's not a great one, I'll be honest. It's 4 people who were injured, all alive seemingly, and they were just standing around together outside when shot. Not a great one. Let's try again. How about that? Let's try again. We'll go for somewhere in Memphis, if it loads anyway. Oh, I screwed that up. All right, 1 killed, 5 injured on 5200 block of Zodiac Road, Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, so this one looks really bad at first. You look, it says teen 12 to 7, teen 12 to 7, 18 plus, teen 12 to 7, adult 18 plus, 18 plus. There's a lot of stuff going on here. We read the notes at the bottom. East Holmes Road and Chichalahoma Road on Tennessee-Minnesota state line. Teen dead and 5 others shot in ongoing disagreement over cell phone. 16-year-old girl dead, 5 others injured in Zodiac Park shooting. And apparently it was over a cell phone. And then the suspects fled in a tan 2-door vehicle. MPD said the suspects' faces were covered with bandanas. Sources told us the bandanas were red, but police have not said whether they think there was any gang involvement. Okay. Well, either way, I think I've made my point. The point is that we'll go back to the map. The point is that this map, which it doesn't really seem like, when you consider there's 300 something million people in the USA, many of which are illegal immigrants for that matter. When you consider that, this isn't really as bad as the media makes it out. It's because these aren't really mass shootings. When you say mass shooting, what do you think of? Do you think of a targeted attack? Do you think of someone getting angry in a bar? Do you think of gang violence? No, you don't. So I wanted to go over some of them. Again, this is gunviolencearchive.org. They track a lot of these, and you can see is four injured victims, and that's all it takes to be counted as a mass shooting. That one there in Ohio, Cincinnati. I'll get to that one. That classifies as a mass shooting according to them. 4 people injured, and that's a mass shooting. That's not what I think of though. So here's one from a man who killed his wife and their 4 children. Officers received a 911 call from a man who said he had killed his entire family and was getting ready to kill himself. Is that a mass shooting? No, it's not. Here's one, a drive-by with multiple shootings. The other victims were also shot, but they declined medical attention. I highlighted that to remember it because that, that's a red flag there when you're declining medical attention after being shot. 43-year-old man, 34-year-old man, 32-year-old woman, and a male whose age was unknown were shot when multiple offenders inside a vehicle fired shots at them at 7:17 p.m. So, I mean, it was a drive-by with multiple people in the car. They drove up to you and shot at you. Is that a mass shooting, or is it some sort of gang attack or gang initiation or something, like a targeted attack? It doesn't sound like a mass shooting to me, especially when people flee the scene. There's another one from 11:43 p.m. The shooting is under investigation. There is no word of a suspect at this time. 4 people were shot up. There's really no details to this one at all, besides the fact that it happened at 11:43 p.m. at 130 block of Rion Lane. Okay, so here's my mentality of a mass shooting. It doesn't happen at midnight. That's my mentality. It doesn't happen in the middle of the night, because in a mass shooting, you're trying to cause mass damage, right? You're trying to send a message. So how can these things be happening in the middle of the night? Here's one from 2:35 a.m. These are all recent, by the way. This is posted August 18th, 2026. A witness stated the suspect was upset with his girlfriend when he went to the address and found the 4 victims sitting inside a vehicle in the driveway. The suspect then began shooting into the vehicle, striking all 4 of them. Kendrick Maurice Williams. It's not a mass shooting, man. It's a targeted attack against his ex-girlfriend, and it happened at 2:35 a.m. A very specific attack. And moving on to the next one, at 3:30 in the morning in Houston, officers responded to a report of a shooting at a club in a business strip center at the above address, and upon the arrival, they heard gunshots being discharged. Officers witnessed a large crowd leaving the parking lot. So, again, it's in the middle of the night, 3:30 a.m. It's in the middle of the night at a club. Is that really a mass shooting, or did someone just get drunk or high or get in an argument? Is that what a mass shooting is? This one's at 3 in the morning. According to officials, the shooting happened just before 3 a.m. at a large gathering on the 2000 block of the Beulah Highway. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation says 5 people were taken to a regional hospital for treatment for their injuries. 4 of the victims' conditions are listed as stable. 1 victim remains in critical condition. That's all the information there is on it, but 3 in the morning? 3 in the morning at a block party on Beulah Highway, and we're gonna have some. I mean, I just assumed it was a party, but we're gonna just jump to the conclusion that it's a mass shooting. For what reason exactly? Just because there's 4 people who were shot, which is total BS. This one's outside of a bar at 1:40 in the morning in Hartford. Why? 1:40 in the morning. Joseph Texador, 32 of Newington, was a fatal victim, and then there was 3 or 4 other people who were shot. And then here in the follow-up to that, no one has been charged in connection with this case. Now, again, is that a mass shooting? Or is it just someone, this is in a bar, well, it was outside of a bar, but you can presume that it started inside of the bar. Was it a mass shooting, or was it just some drunks getting in an argument? One guy had a gun and they made a bad decision. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe the bar should just start checking people for guns, or like the parking lot even, like you have to check in your guns before you get out of your car. I mean, is it a mass shooting though? Is that really the problem? So I wanted to segue into this. This is a recent video by Sabine Hossenfelder, and it is about how everywhere is warming faster than the rest of the world. Yeah, I know, that doesn't really seem like it makes sense at first. So she's pointing out the fabricated storylines by these worldwide tabloids, science, air quote, articles that are all trying to mislead people into thinking that the Earth is superheating and everywhere. I mean, you look at the tabloids, everywhere is warming faster than the rest of the world. Well, how is that possible? This is her point. Her point is that she's condemning this narrative that all of these scientific people, the news people, whoever they are, is pushing, that everywhere is warming faster than everywhere else. Well, how is that possible? Doesn't make any sense. And likewise, it doesn't make sense to say that there's hundreds of mass shootings with tens of thousands of victims every year. That's not true. These are gang shootings. They're drunks in a bar. They're people shooting at their ex-lovers who happen to be with their friends or whatever. That's not what a mass shooting is when you're thinking about what a person thinks. These news stories talking about Finland warming faster than the rest of the world, Canada warming up twice as fast as the rest of the world, New England warming up faster than the rest of the world. That's all designed to twist the truth into something that's going to mislead the viewer, mislead the reader, and they're going to come out of it thinking that the Earth is as a fireball, right? Especially one particular part of the Earth. But as you can see, they all say the same thing, and they're all talking about different parts of the Earth. And likewise, with mass shootings, it's misleading people. Is it the same thing they did, as I mentioned earlier, when they talk about blank people killed, plus a child? Is that they're trying to mislead people, to pull at their heartstrings, and to sort of warp and twist the narrative. And the worst part about this, I think, is that it's being used for political purposes. So as I said before, it's being used by the left wing to try and undermine the Constitution and say, well, guns are bad, right? Guns are bad because people use guns to shoot other people. Therefore, all guns gotta go, right? That's the narrative there. And you're providing this inaccurate information about how there's a bajillion mass shootings per year. They're not actually mass shootings. Do the left wing, do they want to talk about the actual truth of those shootings? Do they want to talk about gang violence? Do they want to talk about relationship problems? Do they want to talk about self-deletion rates? They probably don't want to actually talk about those things because those things don't really reflect well on the narrative the left wing is trying to present. And I mean that both from them condemning the right wing and also them uplifting themselves. It doesn't really sound so good. And likewise, the right wing, they don't really get a whole lot of benefit out of these stats either. I mean, they certainly get more of a benefit out of the truth than the left wing does, but the truth is there are a lot of shootings, and the guns are very poorly regulated, and there does need to be stronger regulation. I do think most people on the right wing would be in favor of stronger regulation, because if you're following the law, you don't need to worry about whether or not you're allowed to have a gun, right? So most people on the right aren't really worrying about it so much, but it's really annoying because it's not just like I'm being down talked to, right? Like whenever they say mass shooting and I squint my eyes, like 2:30 in the morning, there was a mass shooting, was there? Squint my eyes at that. This Chad Hickman story. Chad Hickman, a mass shooting on Friday has left 6 people dead, including the suspected gunman, according to The Guardian. And then they list off the people, age 45 man, 40, and a boy, 16, 2 others, a 53-year-old man, a 29-year-old woman, and a 13-year-old girl. Well, the story itself says that the officers responding to a shooting at a home. Then there was another shooting at some other home. And the police found Hickman dead in the woods along with a 29-year-old woman taken from the second home. So this is meant to say that he's a madman going from house to house, murdering people randomly, right? But the fact that it's happened at a home right then and there would make you think that there has to be some other purpose besides a mass shooting. As I was talking about the reasoning behind these things, the narrative they're trying to spin, when I think mass shooting, I think mass casualties, mass damage, maximum output. It's not in the middle of the night. The shooter very rarely flees. They want to stay where they did their deed. They want to be caught. They want to send a message. That's part of it. And I say caught, but like oftentimes they want to just end it with a bullet to themselves, right? That's what happens with mass shootings most of the time anyway. I'm not going to pretend I'm an analyst here, but most of the time that's what happens. So if it's a 19-year-old at 3 in the morning or whatever, it just doesn't make sense to me to call that a mass shooting without any extra information, and I'm immediately suspect of it. This thing with Chad Hickman, by the way. Hickman had a long criminal history, lots of stuff, first-degree criminal sexual misconduct, domestic violence, child abuse, electronic interference with electronic communications, intent to do great bodily harm. He had a whole host of problems wrong with him. But the story, I think, is rather interesting because it says that, this is a quote by one of the victim's fathers, David Everett said the third person found shot to death with his daughter and grandson was Shane McGowan, whom he told the Free Press was his daughter's boyfriend and lived there with Amanda and the two teens. The 16-year-old boy was shot to death, and the 13-year-old girl was shot many times and alive. And then David Everett, went on to say that McGowan had been a childhood friend of Hickman's. He did not know what would have prompted Hickman to turn a gun on McGowan or to shoot Amanda and the children. So it wasn't a mass shooting. As you see, Chad Hickman knew Shane McGowan and presumably would have known his girlfriend and the two children, the woman's children, I guess. So he knew them. Now, I don't know who the other two people for the other house that he shot was, but if he took the 29-year-old woman into the woods and then shot her and then shot himself, then presumably there was something going on there as well, right? But they just give you the surface level stuff, and they say it's a mass shooting just like that, and it's disgusting to me. There's a story of Demetrius here. Demetrius shot up the East End Day community event. He killed a 16-year-old Dizon Robertson and then shot up several other people, including a 4-year-old and a 14-year-old. And no arrests have been made, as that said. Now, as I said, if there's no arrests, they fled the scene, it probably wasn't a mass shooting. This did happen at 7 p.m., though, so a little bit more likely. It was at some sort of community event. A little more likely. Could still be a gang shooting, though. And the next day or a day later, they caught him, Demetrius Griffin. Arrested less than 24 hours later after the mass shooting, as they put it, and he claimed that he was not guilty. By the way, he's on, I think, a $1 million bond, which is less than Chud the Builder. This guy shot a 4-year-old, a 14-year-old, at least 2 other people, and murdered a 16-year-old in what they're calling a mass shooting. They're calling a mass shooting. Could have been, could have not been. I don't know. But it doesn't make any sense to have him have bond at all. $1 million bond at all? I mean, any bond is ridiculous. But why is that less than what other people do for other, like, way, way, way less severe crimes? Like, no one was calling Chud the Builder a mass shooter, but here's a continuation of it. Lexington Police Chief Lawrence Weathers confirmed it was the first homicide in Lexington since early February. When asked if it was gang-related, Police Chief Weathers said the matter is part of an ongoing investigation, and because it's part of an investigation, it's something they can't talk about. And again, Police Chief Weathers said that he does not believe there is any indication that this was a random act of violence. Okay, so random act of violence, like, I don't think mass shootings are random acts of violence either, so it's kind of, like, what even is a random act of violence, really? But I guess if it's drug-induced or something, but in this particular case, I think what he means to say is that it wasn't a mass shooting, right? I think he's probably trying to say it was a gang attack, right? That's probably what he's trying to say. And a little bit more clearly on this one, Cameron Harris at the Virginia State University shooting, which happened very recently as well. Police were called to the historically black university in Ettrick near Petersburg around 1:30 in the morning. First red flag. Saturday reports gunfire. And then they eventually catch the guy hiding in a closet in the female's dorm. But later on, a person told police that they heard Harris was involved in the shooting and that Harris had another person and had a verbal dispute earlier in the day. The documents say the person said their friends overheard Harris say he was going to come back to the school and shoot, according to the court documents. Apparently no one did anything about that. A second person also came forward and told police they heard a man named Cameron was planning to shoot because of an earlier argument, the documents say. So you have multiple people saying that they heard that this guy, they actually heard him say earlier in the day that he was going to come back and shoot up the place. And I guess you just hear that so often in historically black colleges that no one does anything about it. This 19-year-old black guy, by the way, Cameron Harris, he had nothing to do with the college. Like, he didn't go there, whatever. So I don't know where the argument came from or why he was there. But then there was messages posted on his Instagram, an Instagram story, as they call it. I don't know. I don't use Instagram. So he has these messages here. The conversation, "You heard them shots," and he responded with saying, "It was us." Us? It was us? Who's the us exactly? Then the rest of the chain finished at 4 in the morning. "Want to go on a walk? I'm so RN." I mean, his words. The response, "I'm trying to find the gun," or continuation, "I'm trying to find the gun." Then someone posted a cat laughing emoji and said, "Wait." Then he responded with, "Oh yes." Then they responded with, "Let me help you." And he responded with, "Ale got it," and then sent a photo of the handgun. And then they say that at 2:03, which was when the shooting happened, "We JS got the shooting." Why do people think Instagram is some sort of encrypted platform that they can formulate all their nefarious schemes on? I mean, I know that he's 19, and I know that most of the people around that age doing these kinds of things are illiterate, and they're quite literally like video game NPCs, like they're straight out of GTA. But this right here, see, this is the problem with the USA. It's not mass shootings. It's insanity. This is not a mass shooting. This was a deliberate attack because of an argument that he had earlier on. And then he, with his video game NPC brain, decided he was going to get a gun. First of all, tell them what he was going to do, then come back and do it, and then leave a text trail. And the person responded with, "Let me help you find the gun. Let me help you find the weapon you tried to murder people with." Yes, that's right. We have two people, geniuses, thinking, I mean, certainly doctors, lawyers in the future, no doubt about it. We're going to have the next Jason Arde on our hands if we're not careful here. So this is not a mass shooting, is what I'm trying to say here. And neither is this.
We are here exactly where that shooting happened. You can see the aftermath of it. There's trash here. There are tons of bottles of alcohol and also more trash on the other side. Neighbors told me there were dozens of people here at the time, and you can only imagine how quickly they had to leave this location considering the amount of trash that was left behind. The main concern right now is that so far no one has been arrested. Surveillance footage shows
this is right before the shooting. There's nothing actually seen in the shooting, so calm down, YouTube. But you can see there's a bunch of scholars standing around and a bunch of half-naked hookers standing around, and there's just tons of boxes. You can only really make out one of them, which is clearly Heineken alcohol, which is presumably the can sitting on top of the trash can. Very hygienic place to store your drink. And yeah, they're all just standing around doing nothing. I mean, it's probably not a mass shooting though, right? Like, this is probably drunk people, high people, angry people getting in an argument, starting shit, and then here we have the allegations of a mass shooting. Now, most of these people probably minding their own business. I mean, the guy sitting on the railing there, like, I even know how old they are. They look like they could be 14 or something, but they don't even move. Like, they just sit there.
There was a large group of people gathering along Howard Street, and out of nowhere, you hear the gunshots in the back. The incident happened just before 2:30 Sunday morning. Police told us it all started when a group was
way too used to that, don't you think? To not even budge, to just turn and look at it. And a woman died during this as well. And so, I mean, it's classified as a mass shooting, isn't it? So I don't know. I mean, I guess that means at least 4 people were shot, or that's the allegation anyway. It's not though. This is not. This is just incidents that happen, truly localized incidents. And I'm not saying that you can escape any kind of allegations of gun control regarding that. I'm saying that you have to be careful in the allegations you do throw around. It's not a mass shooting. It's some sort of gang shooting, or someone who got high, or someone who got drunk, or someone who did both, and someone who got angry. They were a lover scorned, a lover taken, NTR, I don't know. But the point is that everyone's throwing around these allegations, and it's really just crazy people attacking each other. And like 9 times out of 10, or maybe even more than that, just crazy people attacking each other. For instance, this has nothing to do with guns.
With the vicious attack inside a McDonald's in Midtown, the victim, a 19-year-old man visiting from Australia, stabbed in the back early this morning inside the restaurant on 8th Avenue and 35th Street. Eyewitness News reporter Stefan Kim joining us live outside the McDonald's with more.
So it's just a 19-year-old touring from Australia stabbed in the back after an argument in McDonald's. People will say that's mindless violence or whatever, but there's a reason behind it. Clearly, they had an argument.
Night. He's always fighting over here, he's always arguing. You know, sometimes even in the daytime. I don't stay out here that late because every time around in the evening, for anywhere from probably like 4 on to like, 8, 9, 10, whatever, it's at night, this is not the time for any one of us to be out here.
And that guy that they interviewed there, like, he knows what's up. Don't stay out late at night, because even though hundreds of people walk through here during the daytime, actual people, at nighttime, the animals come out. At nighttime, the wolves come out. And that has nothing to do with mass shootings. It has to do with certain cultures that are allowed to persist in America. Definitely allowed, I would say, is the correct word. Because, again, these tragedies, it's not really just that they happen, it's that they're allowed to happen. We have regressed. Our society has regressed to a point where we have to be worried about wild animals again. Except this time they have guns, and they look like us. That's a problem, don't you think? And it's not mass shootings. That's the issue. It's not guns that are the issue. It's the mentality. This is a knife. This situation happened with a knife. Like, you just have to do something about the culture. You have to do something about the mentality. You're always going to have problems with drunks in bars. You're always going to have problem with druggies. There's no escaping that. You can try and lock down on it as much as possible. I mean, ideally, like I was mentioning earlier, you'd have a bar where you You had a pat down before you go in, but I don't think many people would want to deal with that. So instead, they get to deal with being shot up. I mean, that's just the way it is when you go to clubs. They're not exactly places of positivity. They're rather places of ill repute. But specifically going to McDonald's and getting stabbed, I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. Now, I do want to show one other thing real quick before I wind this up. There is a group of tourists in the background. All seem to be girls walking by one at a time, and then I guess that's their mother. So the thing that I thought was really funny about this is not just that she's cutely waving at the camera, but rather none of these New Yorkers, the actual New Yorkers, like, she's a tourist. Hundreds of New Yorkers walking around here. Not one of them is paying the slightest bit of attention to the camera. Maybe a glance at it, whatever, that guy glanced at it. These people deal with this crap every day. Every day, someone being stabbed. Every day, someone being murdered. All of these people walking by, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, baby carriages with twins, and only the tourist waves at the camera. Because all of the New Yorkers are so used to it, so used to random murders happening, that they don't even pay attention to it. They don't even see the news reporters. They don't see the cameras. There's no photo bombing except for that tourist there. It's sort of sad, isn't it? And this is the way we have to live? Why exactly? Why do we have to allow it? Why do we have to accept it? It's bad culture. The guns, I do think guns need to be a little bit more tighter controlled, not restrained in any way, besides background checks and mental checks and IQ checks, I think is like a big one there. Because these people using like Instagram reels to talk to each other and communicate with each other about how they're going to commit their crimes. And even incriminating themselves and saying, I'll help you find the, I'll help you find the gun that you just attempted to murder a bunch of people with. Yeah, sure. Yeah, let me just post that on Instagram because I'm an idiot. That's the problem. Idiots. And the mass shootings being twisted out of proportion and for the sake of optics, for the sake of clicks and views. I mean, again, I encourage people to actually go look at this. Just click on any number you want on thetrace.org. And take a look at what it actually says. See if it actually is a mass shooting or if it's not. There's one last one to end it on. This is one I just clicked on, 673 Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn, New York, June 15th. Bouncer cut in head, result of bar fight, single shooter. Bar/club incident in and around establishment. And there it is. It's pretty much always a gang shooting or a drunkard or something. The actual amount of mass shootings, real mass shootings, people who truly go out to harm innocents for the sake of sending some sort of message, very, 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 very minimal. And I don't like that people are just throwing the word around. Anyway, I have nothing else to whine about for today at least, so thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please do the YouTube things.